Every single winter morning, millions of people walk out of their front door in the freezing cold, briefcase in one hand, coffee in the other, and stop dead in their tracks in front of a windshield that is completely covered in a thick sheet of ice. The coffee goes on the roof of the car, the briefcase goes on the ground, and for the next 10 to 15 minutes, in the dark, in the freezing cold, sometimes in the middle of a snowstorm, they scrape, and they scratch, and they breathe on the glass, and they wait for the defroster to catch up, and they arrive at work late and cold and frustrated. And then they do the exact same thing the next morning. In the morning after that, every single day, from November through March, 4 to 5 months of every year, for their entire adult lives, there is a mixture you can make tonight in your kitchen for less than $1 that you spray on your windshield before you go to bed. You wake up the next morning, walk out to your car, and the windshield is completely clear. No ice, no frost, no scraping, no waiting. You get in the car and you drive. That is it. The mixture does not just remove ice after it forms, it prevents ice from forming in the first place by fundamentally altering the chemistry of the surface so that water molecules cannot bond together into the crystalline structure that creates ice and frost. One application the night before protects your windshield through an entire night of freezing temperatures. Applied regularly throughout the winter season, it keeps your windshield clear from the first frost in November through the last freeze in March. This mixture has been known since at least the early 20th century. Frontier mechanics used variations of it. World War II military vehicle crews used it to keep aircraft and vehicle windshields clear in extreme cold weather conditions. Cold climate homesteaders across Canada, Scandinavia, and the northern United States used it as standard winter preparation for generations. And yet the average car owner standing in their frozen driveway at 7 in the morning has never heard of it. That is not an accident. That is the result of a de-icing product industry worth over $4 billion annually that discovered a very long time ago that a mixture costing pennies and made from 3 ingredients available in any kitchen generates zero product revenue. And zero product revenue is the one thing that industry cannot afford. Welcome to the Ancient Prepper. If recovering practical forgotten knowledge that the modern world buried under billions of dollars of branded products is why you are here, subscribe right now and ring that notification bell because this channel exists for exactly one reason: to give back what was taken from you. To understand why this mixture works so extraordinarily well, you first need to understand what windshield ice actually is, and why it forms the way it does. Most people think of ice as simply frozen water, which is technically correct, but misses the critical detail that determines why your windshield freezes, while other surfaces around it do not freeze nearly as severely. Glass is an exceptionally poor insulator. It conducts heat away from its surface far more rapidly than wood, metal, or painted surfaces. On a cold night, the outer surface of your windshield drops to ambient air temperature very quickly and stays there, often reaching temperatures several degrees colder than the air itself due to radiative cooling, a process where the glass surface radiates its stored heat outward into the night sky and drops below the surrounding air temperature as a result. When atmospheric moisture, humidity in the air, light precipitation or condensation contacts a glass surface that has dropped below the freezing point of water, ice crystals begin forming immediately. Water molecules bond together in a rigid hexagonal lattice structure, the crystalline arrangement that we recognize as ice and frost, and they bond to the glass surface with remarkable tenacity. This is why scraping is so difficult and so time-consuming. You are not just pushing ice off a surface, you are mechanically breaking the molecular bonds between ice crystals that have fused directly to the glass. It is hard work, it takes time, and it is completely unnecessary if you understand the chemistry well enough to prevent those bonds from forming in the first place. The mixture that prevents this costs less than $1 and requires 3 ingredients that are almost certainly already in your home right now. The first ingredient is rubbing alcohol, specifically isopropyl alcohol at 70% concentration or higher, which is available at any pharmacy or grocery store for between $1 and $3 per bottle that will last you an entire winter season and beyond. The second ingredient is water. Plain tap water works perfectly. The third ingredient is a small amount of dish soap, just a few drops of any standard dish soap you already have under your kitchen sink. The rubbing alcohol is the active ingredient that does the primary work, and the chemistry behind why it works is genuinely fascinating. Isopropyl alcohol has a freezing point of -89 degrees Celsius, -128 degrees Fahrenheit. In practical terms, this means that under any temperature conditions you will ever encounter in a residential winter environment, rubbing alcohol simply cannot freeze. It remains liquid and chemically active at temperatures so far below anything a North American or European winter produces that its antifreeze properties are effectively unlimited for residential use. When you spray a solution containing isopropyl alcohol onto your windshield, the alcohol molecules disperse across the glass surface and insert themselves between the glass molecules and the atmospheric moisture that would otherwise bond to that surface and form ice. The alcohol's extraordinarily low freezing point means that the water molecules in the surrounding air cannot organize themselves into the rigid crystalline lattice structure required to form ice, because the alcohol molecules are constantly disrupting that organizational process at the molecular level. The water in the mixture serves as a carrier that dilutes the alcohol to the optimal concentration for surface coverage. Pure alcohol evaporates too quickly from the surface to provide lasting protection, while the water slows the evaporation rate and extends the effective coverage time significantly. The few drops of dish soap serve two functions simultaneously. First, the soap molecules act as a surfactant that helps the mixture spread evenly and thinly across the entire glass surface rather than beading up in droplets, ensuring complete coverage with no gaps. Second, the soap creates a very slight residual film on the glass surface after the mixture dries that provides an additional barrier layer against moisture adhesion. Together, these three ingredients create a complete surface treatment that is far more effective than any commercial de-icing spray on the market and far less expensive. Now let me take you back through history, because the story of how people kept vehicle and structure windows clear of ice before the commercial de-icing industry existed is a story that illuminates exactly how much practical knowledge was deliberately replaced by products designed to generate repeat revenue rather than solve problems permanently. In the earliest decades of the 20th century, as automobiles became more common across North America and Northern Europe, the problem of frozen windshields emerged as one of the most universal frustrations of winter driving. There were no commercial de-icing sprays, there were no heated garages for the average working family, there were no electric defrosters built into windshields. There was the ice, and there was the driver had to find a way to deal with it using what was available. Mechanics and practical homeowners in cold climate regions quickly discovered that alcohol-based solutions applied to glass before freezing temperatures arrived prevented ice formation reliably, consistently. Isopropyl alcohol had been commercially available since the early 1920s, initially developed as a surgical antiseptic and industrial solvent. Its antifreeze properties were well understood by chemists from the beginning, and practical men and women in cold climates began applying that knowledge to the problem of frozen windshields almost immediately. By the 1930s, alcohol-based windshield treatments were a standard piece of winter preparation knowledge in cold climate communities across Canada, the northern United States, Scandinavia, and northern Russia. It was the kind of knowledge that fathers passed to sons when they taught them how to maintain a vehicle through a northern winter. It was written in no manual and advertised in no newspaper because it required no product to be purchased and no company to manufacture anything. During World War II, this knowledge became operationally critical at a military scale. Aircraft operating in extreme cold weather conditions, the Eastern Front, the North African winter campaigns, the Aleutian Islands campaign in Alaska, faced severe operational problems caused by ice formation on cockpit glass, vehicle windshields, and optical equipment. Military engineers and mechanics developed and standardized alcohol-based treatments for glass surfaces as part of cold weather operational protocols across multiple Allied and Axis military forces. The science was documented in military technical manuals. The effectiveness was proven under the most demanding real-world conditions imaginable. The knowledge was widespread among anyone who worked with vehicles and equipment in cold weather environments. After the war, that generation of mechanics brought that knowledge home with them. Through the late 1940s and 1950s, alcohol-based windshield treatments remained common practical knowledge among the men who had served and the communities they returned to. And then gradually, commercially manufactured de-icing sprays began appearing on the market. Packaged in convenient aerosol cans with professional labeling and automotive brand backing, these products were marketed aggressively to a new generation of car owners who had not grown up with the practical mechanical knowledge of the wartime generation. The commercial products worked. Most of them were essentially alcohol-based solutions in an aerosol can, which is almost exactly what the homemade mixture is, but they were sold in small quantities at significant markup, designed to run out quickly and require regular repurchase throughout the winter season. The homemade mixture was not banned, it was not discredited, it was simply never mentioned again in any mainstream automotive publication, retailer recommendation, or mechanics advice column, because there was no financial incentive for anyone in the automotive products industry to mention it. A mixture that cost pennies per application and can be made at home from 3 ingredients generates nothing for the $4 billion de-icing industry. So the industry simply talked around it, promoted past it, and buried it under an avalanche of branded aerosol cans until the generation that remembered the original knowledge was gone and the generation that followed them had never heard of it. Meanwhile, professional mechanics have always known. Fleet vehicle operators, companies that run large numbers of vehicles through northern winters, have used alcohol-based preventative treatments as a cost management strategy for decades because, at fleet scale, the cost difference between commercial de-icing products and homemade alcohol solutions is enormous. Cold weather driving instructors teach alcohol-based preventative treatments as basic winter vehicle preparation. Airport ground crews use alcohol-based solutions as part of their standard overnight aircraft preparation protocols in cold weather seasons. The professionals know, the industry knows. The only people who were systematically not told are the ones standing in the frozen driveway every winter morning scraping ice off a windshield that never needed to freeze in the first place. So here is exactly how you make this mixture and how you use it correctly. Take an empty spray bottle. Any clean spray bottle will work perfectly. Fill it with 2 parts rubbing alcohol to 1 part water. Add 3 to 4 drops of regular dish soap and shake the bottle gently to combine everything. That is the entire preparation. Total cost for a full bottle that will last you weeks of nightly applications under $1. Total time to prepare under 2 minutes. Every evening before temperatures drop to freezing, spray the mixture liberally and evenly across your entire windshield and your side windows. Make sure the entire glass surface is visibly wet with the mixture. You do not need to wipe it or spread it. Simply spray it on and walk away. The mixture will dry on the glass surface, leaving an invisible protective layer of alcohol that prevents ice from forming through the night, regardless of how cold temperatures drop. In the morning, your windshield will be completely clear. Get in and drive. For nights when temperatures are expected to be exceptionally severe, below -15 Celsius or below 5 Fahrenheit, you can increase the alcohol concentration slightly to 3 parts alcohol to 1 part water for additional protection. The dish soap amount stays the same regardless of concentration. For existing ice that has already formed before you had a chance to apply the preventative treatment, the same mixture sprayed directly onto ice dissolves it within 30 to 60 seconds without any scraping required. Simply spray, wait 1 minute, and wipe away with a cloth. The alcohol immediately begins breaking the molecular bonds between the ice crystals and the glass surface, and the ice releases cleanly and completely. One practical note worth mentioning clearly. This mixture is for glass surfaces, windshields, side windows, and rear windows. Do not spray it on painted car body surfaces or rubber seals, as repeated alcohol exposure can dry out rubber seals over time. Keep the application focused on the glass. Store your spray bottle in the car rather than in your home so it is always available when you need it, and keep an additional bottle inside in case temperatures are so cold that the bottle itself becomes difficult to spray, though at the alcohol concentrations in this mixture that is extremely unlikely under any normal residential winter conditions. Your grandparents did not stand in freezing driveways scraping ice every winter morning. The generation that built this country through some of the hardest winters in recorded history understood something that the de-icing industry spent $4 billion making sure you forgot. That the chemistry of ice prevention is simple, cheap, and has been understood for over a century. The solution was never complicated. It was never expensive. It was never unavailable. It was simply buried under enough branded aerosol cans and enough automotive retail shelf space that an entire generation grew up believing that a $10 can of de-icer was the only option available to them. It was never the only option. It was just the only option the industry wanted you to know about. The mixture is $1. The spray bottle is already in your kitchen. The knowledge is right here, and starting tonight, you never have to scrape your windshield again. Subscribe to this channel, share this video with every person you know who has ever stood in a frozen driveway scraping ice at 7 in the morning. And stay with me, because what is coming in the next video is going to open your eyes even further. Stay prepared, stay informed, stay free.